During the early part of Ben Simmons' career, he was hailed as having limitless potential and being a rising superstar, often compared to LeBron James as a generational talent. However, Jared Dudley, an experienced player averaging 4.9 points per game at the time and known for his journeyman career, saw some weaknesses in Simmons' ability. Looking back at 2019, it's interesting to note that the more prophetic version about Simmons' career came from Jared Dudley, an experienced but low-scoring player who commanded respect from young stars across the league. Despite not being a high-scoring player himself, Dudley seemed to have keen insight into Simmons' weaknesses. It's quite the contrast from what was initially thought of Simmons as a rising star with limitless potential. Jared Dudley earned the respect of good players for two key reasons. First and foremost, he showcased a higher level of play earlier in his career, obviously when he was younger, which drew some admiration from many of his peers. Although he wasn't the most lightning-fast or athletically gifted player, he carved out a reputation as a reliable role player with exceptional 3-and-D skills. During his tenure with the Phoenix Suns, he impressively maintained double-digit point averages for 3 consecutive seasons, even as he moved between different teams. Despite a gradual decline in production and three-point shooting percentage, he continued to be a highly coveted and valuable asset for various teams. Additionally, Dudley's respect from younger players grew significantly during the latter phase of his career as he embraced a new role as a veteran mentor. He seamlessly transformed into an on-court coach and a guiding figure in the locker room. This transition into a mentor role further cemented his reputation among the younger generation of players. While some might dismiss this as a common occurrence for veterans with years of experience in the league, Dudley's impact and influence were truly treasured and appreciated by those he mentored. Dudley was more than just a player. He acted like a coach on the court. He wasn't afraid to pull teammates aside during games and give them pointers if they were doing something wrong. One prime example was when he called out Devin Booker while going through the game footage back in his Phoenix days in 2017 and 2018. And you know what? It worked. Dudley played a big part in helping Booker become one of the brightest stars in the game. He also mentored Giannis Antetokounmpo during his second season with the Bucks, and we all know how incredible Giannis turned out to be with 2 MVP awards to his name. The same mentorship role continued when Dudley was on the Nets in 2019, which was when things got a little bit heated between him and Ben Simmons. Dudley's coaching-like attitude and dedication to nurturing young players made him a highly respected figure in the league. Dudley was like having an extra coach on the team who also played about 20 minutes per game. The Nets head coach couldn't help but praise him for how involved he was with the coaching staff. It wasn't just your typical veteran leadership. There was something unique about Dudley that made him incredibly valuable to his teammates. Despite not being the best player on the court, his impact went beyond stats, and his teammates respected and valued him for it. Now, let's talk about the first pick in the 2016 NBA Draft, Ben Simmons. Even before entering college, Simmons showed immense potential and was considered to have the ability to become one of the best players in the NBA. He was often hailed as the ultimate modern NBA player. What made him so remarkable? Standing at an impressive 6'10", he possessed the agility, speed, and playmaking skills of a point guard, style reminiscent of Magic Johnson's playing style. During his time as a freshman at LSU, he primarily played as a forward, where his game exhibited shades of LeBron James' versatility. Simmons' unique combination of size and skill set made him a highly intriguing prospect in the eyes of NBA enthusiasts. Being considered with such esteemed company after just a year is truly remarkable. Ben Simmons went on to declare for the 2016 NBA Draft, and scouts were full of praise for his skills and potential. The Philadelphia 76ers selected him with the first overall pick, and there were high expectations for him to make an immediate impact once he recovered from a broken foot. Finally, in the 2017-2018 season, Simmons made his debut and displayed his talents with flair, earning him the coveted Rookie of the Year award. It seemed like he was living up to all the hype surrounding him. In his second season, he continued to shine and earned a spot in the NBA All-Star Game, solidifying his status as a rising star in this league. Absolutely, Ben Simmons' defensive prowess is truly impressive and a significant aspect of his game. However, one area where he struggled is his shooting ability. As the importance of three-point shooting in basketball grew, especially with players like Steph Curry revolutionizing the game, Simmons' lack of consistent shooting became more noticeable. During the 2018 playoffs, the deficiency became evident when the Boston Celtics employed a strategy of sagging off Simmons on defense, knowing he was unlikely to take the long-range shots. This tactic put Simmons in a challenging situation and caused some difficulties for him in that particular series. Despite his incredible talents, the shooting aspect had been a point of concern in an area where he continues to work on improving. It is indeed impressive that Ben Simmons made it to the All-Star level despite his shooting limitations, showcasing his extraordinary talent and versatility in other aspects of the game. However, as the competition intensified in the playoffs, questions arose about whether his approach could continue to be as effective. The 2019 playoffs presented another opportunity for Simmons to demonstrate his ability to thrive without a consistent jumper, but the challenge was evident when Jared Dudley, prior to the Nets-Sixers opening round matchup, candidly stated that they would leave Simmons open until he proved he could consistently make shots. The postseason became a crucial test for Simmons year in and year out, and the question of whether he could succeed without a reliable junker became a focal point of discussions around his game. In the intense confrontation, the seasoned player at the end of the bench taunted Simmons, saying, "Eat it." And in Game 1, Simmons took up the challenge, mostly due to the influence of that old man on the bench. Dudley marked Simmons for 22 possessions, during which the young star struggled, going 1 for 5 and scoring only 2 points. Indeed, Simmons had a different perspective on the situation, refusing to give credit to Dudley's defense and instead placing the blame on himself. He even suggested that Dudley's defense was weak and that he should exploit it. Simmons used the motivation and had an outstanding Game 2, especially when Dudley was out due to injury. Joel Embiid accidentally or intentionally caught Jared Allen with a hard elbow, resulting in a bloody lip for Allen. The referees deemed it as a flagrant 1 foul, but some questioned whether it was deliberate. In the post-game presser, Embiid offered an apology, yet there was a sense of doubt surrounding the genuineness of his words, where he somewhat laughed about it. The incident only intensified the already heated series, leaving Dudley quite displeased with the foul and the subsequent laughter after Embiid's apology. In response, Dudley stirred up more beef by criticizing Simmons' performance as average. Simmons didn't take lightly to Dudley's comments, defending himself by highlighting his playmaking and driving abilities. To reporters, Simmons essentially brushed off Dudley's remarks, referring to him as a journeyman scrub and questioning the importance of his opinion. The clash of words doesn't align with how Dudley's young teammates, both past and present, view him. However, it's crucial to remember that the word teammate might be a very key factor in this context. Clearly, tensions were running high, and the verbal exchange added fuel to the fiery competition between the two teams. Indeed, when it comes to playoff matchups, opponents' critical remarks are often unwelcome, especially in the public eye. Dudley, who is perceived as a player scoring a mere 5 points per game, seemingly lacked the authority to call out Simmons. It was understandable that Simmons brushed off Dudley's comments like an insignificant nuisance. In Game 3, Simmons returned with a vengeance, making Dudley, who had just recovered from injury, look foolish. He showcased anything but an average performance and had the best playoff game of his career. The broadcasters couldn't help but take sides as they watched Simmons dazzle on the court. Simmons' authoritative dunk was a statement, and the broadcasters couldn't resist poking fun at Dudley's seemingly exaggerated claim about Simmons' weaknesses. Throughout the entire game, Simmons treated Dudley with less than zero respect, showing him no mercy and proving that he was anything but the average player. During the game, when Dudley protested to the referee, Simmons couldn't help but find amusement in the older player's frustration. And then, Dudley airballed a wide-open three-pointer with the Nets trailing by 15 points. Simmons mockingly held his arms wide open, seemingly sarcastically presenting, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jared Dudley." Dudley's performance in Game 3 was far from impressive, making it difficult for him to be in the position to criticize others. After the game, Simmons declared that he was done with the feud, subtly implying that it was beneath him to engage in such exchanges. The general consensus among observers wasn't looking at the stat lines. Simmons had effectively silenced Dudley. However, Dudley wasn't quite ready to back down yet. In Game 4, he continued to chirp and exchange words with Simmons on the court, showing that he hadn't completely surrendered despite the apparent upper hand Simmons had in the feud. That tension and verbal sparring between the two players continued to simmer on the court. Despite Simmons claiming to be done with the beef, it seemed as if he couldn't resist getting involved when Dudley stole the ball from him in the first quarter and exchanged some words. This indicated that the rivalry was still very much alive. In the final 2 minutes of the second quarter, Dudley hit his second three-pointer of the game and fired Simmons' taunt right back at him. Things got more intense just before the end of the half when a bit of shoving ensued, hinting at the tensions that were building up. In the middle of the third quarter, Embiid delivered a hard foul on Jared Allen, the player who also had his lip bloodied in Game 2, and Dudley was not going to let Embiid get away with another aggressive play against his team. This demonstrated Dudley's role as a leader who stood up for his teammates. In the ensuing scuffle, Simmons and Dudley ended up in close quarters, but it didn't seem like they were going after each other. While we can't be sure what was said or done during the melee, from the outside it appeared that they weren't targeting one another directly. The intensity and physicality of the game were clearly taking its toll, and the simmering feud between Simmons and Dudley continued to add fuel to the fire. In a dramatic turn of events, Dudley, alongside the Sixers' Jimmy Butler, were ejected and seen as the enemy at the moment. Despite acting unbothered, Embiid couldn't resist throwing a slight insult Dudley's way, echoing Simmons' earlier analysis. Before Game 5, Dudley shifted his attention back to Simmons and clarified his average statement, emphasizing that it was meant more from a coach or analysis perspective and not a personal attack. He defended his comments as merely stating an objective fact that Simmons struggled in the half court. As the game unfolded, the beef between Simmons and Dudley seemed to get lost amidst the lopsided performance of the Sixers. In a dominating Game 5, The Sixers humiliated and eliminated the Nets by a 22-point margin, putting an end to the series. The overwhelming victory shifted the focus away from the individual feud as the Sixers made a resounding statement on the court. Thank you for all watching episode 9 of the Out of Sight Sports YouTube series, the role player who called Ben Simmons' downfall before it happened. We hope you enjoyed the content and insights shared in this episode, and if you found it interesting, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more engaging sports content. Also, don't forget to check out the links in the description below to explore our Twitter page, Medium page, Instagram, and more. Stay connected with us and stay up to date with all the latest updates, discussions, and exciting content related to the world of sports. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next episode.